Hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Allison.
And this is Nerd of the Week, a randomly generated fandom podcast.
Hooray!
Hooray! Welcome. Generator, you want to remind everyone what this podcast's word is?
The word of the week is coast.
All right. So there, you've got a lot of options for coast in a definition here.
Oh boy, I can think of two. One
Okay.
of them is a noun, and it is a seashore or the edge of the ocean, I suppose.
Okay.
And the other is maybe a verb, and it is to move forward without propulsion.
Hey, that's not bad. All right.
Nice.
So we got the noun, which is the part of the land near the sea, the edge of the land. There's also a run or movement in or on a vehicle without the use of power. So,
Nice.
yeah. And then the verb version of it is to move easily without using power. So I think you
Nice.
got that spot on.
Cool. Hooray. I think mine sounds even better.
I think
than
so
theirs
too.
does, though.
Without propulsion, because that makes more sense.
Because, I guess power, propulsion, whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
Without any added force.
And the verb, the sentence actually makes somewhat like sense.
Well, that's a first.
I know. The engines stopped and the craft coasted along. Like,
Nice.
all right, I got it.
Yeah, actually kind of gives us some context there.
As opposed to the noun, which is the west coast of Africa, which like exists as a thing and is definitely a sentence, but does not give you like the definition of it in the word. But that's okay.
You could coast down the coast.
Oh, and then I guess also there's the coast is clear, but
Okay, that's kind of like,
that's like a phrase, like a turn of phrase.
yeah. And talking more about like the noun version of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Google. Fine.
We'll allow it this time, Google.
But we're watching you.
Points eyes.
We've got our eyes on you.
We got your eyes on us. Probably true. Google probably is watching us at all time.
Yeah.
I too accept our Skynet overlords.
Heavens. Okay, cool.
All right.
Do I go first?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Tell me all of the coasty things.
Okay, I will tell you all the coasty things for sure.
Oh no, I don't like the way you said that.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All
It's
right.
okay.
I won't. I will a little, but I won't.
Okay. So I had actually told you about this movie a few weeks ago, and I don't know if you've gotten to see it since I had talked about it or remembered that I told you about it, which
Good
is totally
question.
fine as well. No shame, please.
No shame, please. Don't perceive shame onto me. Got it. I don't
will
remember what we're
accept
talking about.
No shame from you.
Okay, that's fair. I won't.
All right, so I'm bringing a newer movie for us, and it's called The Menu.
Yes, I remember you telling me to watch this and saying I would like it, and I have not watched it yet, but I
Okay.
am excited to hear about it.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil the whole thing.
Spoiler warning. I know I don't do that often anymore, but spoiler warning. Yeah, that's fine.
I hope you're okay with that.
Totally
I guess
fine.
just don't listen. I can just talk to nothing
Just
for a
talk
while.
to nothing in the podcast and then just make like soft seashore noises, and I'll know to come back, and then I'll talk about my side.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in a mood. I'm sorry.
It's all right. So I'm going to tell you all about it, and hopefully I do a bad enough job that you'll still be surprised when you see the actual thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So it's described as a comedy horror film, which I don't think I see the comedy part of this.
Okay.
But one of the producers is Will Ferrell. So maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know. And it does, in fact, star Anya Taylor-Joy, the it girl of the moment.
I'm going to be real honest. I don't know who that is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, heavens. Okay, let me see what else she was in. She was in Emma, that Jane Austen movie back in 2020.
Is she the lady in the Queen's Gambit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, also that. And also apparently Princess Peach in the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, okay. Cool. I
Yeah.
don't think I've really interacted with a lot of the media that she's been in, but okay.
Oh. Yeah. She's apparently real popular right now.
Fair enough.
But anyway, so she's the main character, and her name is, well, for the first part of the movie is Margot. We'll get to that.
All right, fair enough.
This opens on like a dock area, and she's just kind of like hanging out with her date, who is Tyler. I don't know who Tyler is played by. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be real up on the actors in this, so look it up yourself if you care.
I've already proven that I have no idea who anyone is, so it's fine.
Perfect. So anyway, she's like not into what's about to happen. She's just like kind of like chilling on like a cinder block wall and like acting kind of like, why am I here? I don't particularly care.
Okay.
But Tyler, he's like all excited and he's like, come on, it's going to be so great. You're going to experience things you've never experienced before. And this is like a world-class adventure. And you're going to be one of the like few people who ever goes to this place. And she's just like, okay, whatever, fine, I don't care. The place that they're going to is called Hawthorne Island. So they, along with a select group of other people, board a ship. Or it's a little boat. It's not a ship. So it's these two couples. There's kind of like an older couple. There's a food critic with her writing assistant, kind of an old actor who's kind of gone out of popularity, like he's not really been in a lot of things recently, and his assistant, and then like a group of fancy businessmen who are out on like a trip to celebrate their earnings or something like that.
Fancy lads. Got it.
Fancy lads, yes. If they were younger, they would definitely be like frat bros.
Got it.
But
Okay.
now they've graduated to fancy lad business world.
Fancy frat bows. Got it. Okay.
Yes. So they all get on this boat, and it turns out that Hawthorne Island is the site of this really exclusive, expensive, fancy restaurant called the Hawthorne. It's run by this world-class chef whose name is Julian Slowick, and he's been the chef on this island for years and years and years. We kind of find out that apparently the critic who is going on this particular trip, she like discovered, quote unquote, Slowick when he was first like coming up into the food scene, and like she's the one who got him published and like gave good reviews and like made him famous. So like she feels like, oh, he's so indebted to me because I'm the one who made him.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. And then the business bros, they apparently work for a company where like they're the prime investor that helped Slowick to open his restaurant way back in the day is like the CEO of the company that they work for. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like how they got the exclusive invitation. The movie star, he's just a movie star. He doesn't have any like particular ties to Slowick, it seems like. But he's just happy to have been invited, basically. And it's kind of like a weird, almost like invitation only, or like you go by lottery kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So he got invited. Fine, he's going. The older couple, apparently they've actually been there many times, like 5 other times or something. They go like each year. Mm-hmm. So they're just like, quote, the regulars. And then Tyler, he envisions himself to be like this world-class foodie, and like he gets all into like these cool food innovations, like when they cook stuff with the nitrogen or whatever, you know, like the stupid food stuff that you see. So he's like all into that, and he totally idolizes Slowick, and he like wants to go to culinary school and one day work under Slowick. That's like his dream, and he's like so psyched that he got to come to Hawthorne.
All right.
So like for him, a once in a lifetime experience kind of thing.
Bougie,
and then Margot's just along for the ride.
You know, that's the best way to be.
Well, we'll see.
Oh no. Okay.
So while they're on the boat, they actually kind of get like the first dish essentially. And it's not necessarily a dish. It's just kind of like a little, here's something to have. And it is apparently a raw oyster with lemon caviar. And like Tyler, he eats it and he's like, oh my gosh, let's dissect all these flavors here. And like the saltiness of the oyster brings out the lemoniness of the caviar, and like just going off about this foodie stuff.
Don't have a refined palate. If it tastes good, I'm happy. And if it doesn't, I'm like, eh.
Right. But that's kind of how Margot is. She's definitely like the down to earth, this is what regular people think about this kind of food kind of character. So she like eats it and she's like, I mean, I guess it's good, but like also oysters are just fine on their own. Like, what's the hype?
Right.
And Tyler's just like, ugh,
oysters are too slimy.
You just don't
to be
understand.
Food, but okay.
Well, apparently she eats them anyway.
All right, fair. I don't know if I can like this chick.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll like her, I promise.
All right, fair enough.
So we finally get to the island and we're greeted by the maitre d', and she kind of gives them a tour of the island. The older couple, they say, oh, we've had this tour so many times. Can't we just go right to the restaurant? And she says, no, we will all go on the tour. And she's just like the most like kill them with kindness, but this is the way it's going to be kind of person. Like if you try and step out of line, she's just like, oh, no, we're going to do this now. Okay, here we go.
Oh, no, honey. You're wrong, but I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
I got you.
So she takes them on this tour. The boat leaves, and there's kind of this ominous scene of Margot like watching it drive away. Actually, they have to be checked in by the maitre d' first. I'm sorry, I skipped this part. And when we get to Tyler, he says, well, I'm Tyler, and this is, and he kind of like looks at her, kind of catches a little bit, and he's like, this is Margot. And the maitre d' is like, oh, Margot, I see. And Tyler says something along the lines of like, oh, my other date wasn't able to make it, or something along those lines. Like we finally get the picture like, oh, Margot wasn't actually supposed to be here, but okay, she's here now, whatever. But like there's a place available for Tyler to have some kind of date. So there she is. Going back to the tour. So they go over this whole island. It's like completely farm to table. Like they have their own goats and like their own produce section. And apparently all the people who live there, they like have this little dorm that they all stay in. Except Chef Slowick has his own house. And someone says,
of course he does.
Of course he does. And it's like this dark, ominous, mansion-y kind of house.
Yeah.
And someone says, oh, can we see his house? And the maitre d' says, no one goes in Slowick's house except for Slowick.
Fair.
Again, very ominous, yes.
Very ominous, but also like I don't want people in my house, so I get it.
Yeah, of course. But just the way she says it, like,
it's
you could
not
have
worth
just been
it.
like, oh, we're going to respect his privacy and not do that. But no, it's like no one does that.
Yeah, I guess there's better ways to have put that.
So during this tour, we also hear something from the movie star, and he says something like, oh, yeah, I got here because, I know him. We're personal friends, and he invited me. Totally not true. He's making it completely up.
Dirty liar.
Yeah, but he wants to be known, and he wants to be, like, recognized. That's his big thing. He's, like, fallen out of fame, and he craves to be famous again. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to be, unfortunately.
Oh. Does he die?
Hold on.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
So finally we make it to the dining room. They're all seated at their little tables. They each have like their own individual little placemats that are all set out, and like they have to sit in very particular places. And then the kitchen is like right there in front of them. Like it's kind of just very slightly elevated up. So it's like a little stage, and they're watching the performance basically. Mm-hmm. And the maitre d' says very emphatically, please do not take any pictures of what you're going to see. Because we want this to be a fully immersive experience, and that will ruin the moment. Something cheesy like that.
Okay.
But basically, no phones, please. Which is fine. Like, you're there for a fancy thing. They're kind of putting on this performance for you. Like, show some respect, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So finally, Slowick comes out and he's like overseeing all the sous chefs in the kitchen. And Tyler's like, oh my gosh, look, they're using this fancy machine. Let's go up and look at it. And Margot's like, I don't think we should do that. But he's like, no, it's going to be totally fine. So they go up there and he's like talking to the sous chef and he's like, I see this is the like, I don't know what machine it is. We're going to say it's the nitrogen infuser. I don't think that's what it is. I'm sorry. But he's like, I see you're using the nitrogen infuser. And the sous chef is like, yes, sir, we are. It is how we prepare this meal. Please go back to your seat.
Stop bothering me.
Yeah. And Margot, she was like hanging behind and like this such an awkward moment. And so she like goes and huffs back to her seat, obviously, and just like, has this air of like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And I didn't even want to be here to begin with. This is the worst.
I mean, that's fair.
So then the meal is complete. And finally, Slef Shoick comes and like announces. Chef Slowick comes out to announce what it is. And it is the amuse-bouche, which I think is like the pre-appetizer, I guess. I don't know what amuse-bouche means.
I have proven many a time I'm uncultured, so I know nothing.
But it's apparently like a cucumber thing, and it has like this like fancy intricate shell placed over top of it, and it seems like a pretty standard fancy dish, I guess.
Okay.
Like they've done some fancy technique and it's a tiny amount of food. Fine,
okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So they go ahead and eat that, and Tyler's like getting into it, and Margot doesn't eat it. Like it just kind of sits there, and they like come clear it away, and they're like, hey, you haven't eaten this. And she's like, no, I haven't. And they're like, okay. And just clears the plate away. That's fine. They then go on to the next course. This one, they bring out these big rocks that they've gotten from the shore, from the coast. There we go, from the coast.
The coast, okay.
Yes. And they're actually like preparing this meal on these rocks. And Slowick's like whole thing for this menu is like he wants it to tell a story. So he has like these little speeches in between everything. It's like this very artsy thing. And so he says like, you're going to be eating fats, salts, sugars, proteins, and even entire ecosystems, amongst other things. And so this first dish, it's called The Island.
Okay.
And he brings out on these like slabs of stone from the coast, like these little like clams, and there's like different little bits of seaweed, and there's like different bits of fish, and apparently there's like frozen seawater that as it melts, it seasons the dish, and it's basically like every bit of what is on this island is somehow incorporated in this dish. Like it literally is the whole ecosystem.
Okay. And
it's kind of like there's all these like hoity-toity rich people who like, we're just gonna go eat the ecosystem, whatever. Like it kind of has that sort of connotation of like these people think they can do whatever they want, and so they're going to. And of course it's on a small scale, like it's just one plate's worth. It's not literally the ecosystem, obviously, but still, it's like if they want to destroy the whole thing, they can, whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
Again, Margot refuses to eat it, but Tyler goes ahead and does eat it, and he wants to take some pictures, and she's like, don't do that, they told you not to. And the maitre d' comes over and is like, please, no pictures, sir. And he's like, oh sorry, don't worry about that, and puts his phone away.
Okay.
So the first part of this kind of moves somewhat quickly with the courses, and nothing weird is quite happening. The next one is called the breadless bread plate. And Julian has this, or Slowick, sorry, his first name is Julian.
Okay.
I'll try to call him Slowick for the rest of this.
Is it the chef guy?
Yes, the chef guy.
I mean, if we go with chef guy, that'll be easiest for me to keep track
I'll just
of
call
people.
him chef guy. I'll call him chef guy. So anyway, he has this speech of like, bread, it has always been the food of the common people, yet wealthy people eat it too, that even though they don't want to admit it, or something weird like that.
Okay.
He's like, so for this time, it's the bread course, and we've made all of the sauces and accoutrement that you would want to have with the bread. But since you are not common folk, you will get no bread. And so he brings out these plates with just like a dollop of like a few different sauces laid out on them and space to have bread. But there is no bread.
I would riot.
Well, the business boys do.
Okay, because like bread is life.
Yes. No, the business boys totally get mad about that. Mm-hmm. They're like, they call over the maitre d' and they're like, this can't be right. Like, where's the bread? Bring us the bread. And she's like, no, this is your dish. And they're like, come on, we're begging you. We just want the bread. Like, we can't eat this. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Tyler's just over at the table, like, nibbling little bits of the sauce.
Of course he is.
Like, ooh, it's so complex.
He is. Okay.
And then the food critic, she is, like, dictating things to her assistant. She's like, well, you know, it's making a statement, but is it going too far? And the assistant, he, like, wanted to say something contradictory to her, and that's kind of their dynamic, is like she says something that is obviously not what he was thinking, like complete opposite, but he has to agree with her or else he'll get fired, basically. So she's just like in this echo chamber of him saying, yes, your ideas are great and you're the best food critic in the world. And then the elderly couple, the woman, like keeps kind of like looking over at Margot and like, she looks like someone we know. And the older gentleman that she's with is like, no, she doesn't. She doesn't look like anyone we know. Like being very like shutting that down, essentially.
Suspicious.
Yeah, very suspicious. We'll get to that again later. Okay. And again, Margot does not eat any of the sauces. Next, we go on to the chicken tacos with scissors in it.
What?
Is what the third course is called.
With scissors?
Chicken tacos with scissors in it.
Are there scissors in it?
Well, we'll get to that.
All right.
So all this time, there's been this kind of like old lady in the corner of the dining room, and she was actually there when they came in. She has several large bottles of wine in front of her that are obviously empty already. So she is very drunk.
Okay.
And Slowick's story this time is about his childhood. And he goes over to this woman and he says, this is my mother. I love her very much. Growing up, we used to always have chicken taco Wednesdays, something like that. Or I guess every Tuesdays, what I'm reading here on this article that I'm referencing. Was chicken taco Tuesdays. Anyway, so one day, apparently his father came home drunk and, was abusive towards his mother. And so at a very young age, Slowick took a pair of kitchen shears and stabbed him in the thigh.
Oh.
And as Slowick tells this story, he takes a pair of kitchen shears and stabs himself in the thigh.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And just lets it happen.
Like Talladega Night style, like just all right.
Yeah, just scissors to the thigh.
Okay.
And just kind of walks around with them in his thigh for a little while.
As one does.
Yes. And then presented to all the guests are like chicken thighs with scissors stuck in them creatively. The tortillas that go along with the tacos, like it's kind of like build your own taco at your table kind of thing. They all have pictures printed on them, like kind of charred in, essentially. Yeah. He's like, we have this new technology and it can immediately print designs on tortillas. He's so excited about it. But the pictures are all like very detailed, like secret things about these people. So like Tyler's picture is literally a picture of him taking a picture of the food just now.
Oh my God.
That he was not supposed to be taking a picture of. The business bros, they all have like fake receipts and like bank account information printed on their tortillas. And they're like looking at like, how did you get this information? Right. It's basically like proof that they've committed some sort of fraud or something like that.
Sure.
And then the elderly couple, the lady pulls out a tortilla and she's like, look, it's you. But who's this woman?
Oh, no.
So this guy's been having some sort of affair.
Of course.
And that's how this woman finds out about it. I don't remember what the food critic or the movie stars things were.
Okay.
But something that was like mildly disturbing for them. I don't think it was as drastic as it was for these other people.
Okay. This gives me like Saw vibes, but with like a sketchy chef. Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
though.
All right.
So the business bros, they're also kind of like rioting about this, like, obviously.
Yeah.
And the maitre d' comes back and is like, please take your seats, sirs. And they're like, okay. They're not so into it anymore. They thought they were going to have a good time on this island. Not so much. The meal is then cleared out. And the fourth course is called the mess.
Okay.
So Slowick brings out one of his sous chefs, whose name is Jeremy. And he says, this dish was actually created by Jeremy. And I'm very proud of him for it. And Slowick like goes on this whole thing of like, Jeremy always wanted to be a chef. You know, I took him under my wing. But then he like kind of turns on that and he's like, but Jeremy will never be a head chef. Jeremy will never be as good as me. Will you, Jeremy?
Oh, God.
And like being very like condescending about it. But Jeremy like agrees with him and doesn't seem to be like, it sounds like Jeremy is genuine about like, yes, I know I'm never going to be as good as you. It's not like, yes, chef, this is what you have told me and that is what it shall be.
Right.
Like he's just like, yeah, I know I'm not as good as you.
Okay.
And
Suspicious.
Slowick says, here it
Oh,
comes.
God. Oh, God.
So Slowick says, and Jeremy has decided that he no longer wants to fight for this life and for the high privilege of being a chef.
God.
And he like gives Jeremy a hug and he's like, it's been wonderful working with you, Jeremy.
I don't
and
like
then
it.
Jeremy takes out a pistol and shoots himself in the face.
I don't like it. What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she says very calmly. What?
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not very calm. And of course the sous chefs had laid out a nice white cloth behind him to fall down on. So it's easy to clean up the mess afterwards.
How convenient.
And then they bring out some nice vegetables and like a steak or something like that. And just expects people to eat this after watching Jeremy kill himself. And everyone is rioting now.
Yeah, good.
People are like, oh my gosh, we have to get out of here. And there's like this big hefty security guard who's barring the door. And they're like, we can't get out. Oh my gosh, he's going to kill us all. And the maitre d's like, no. Go back to your seats.
Oh.
It's all part of his vision, his performance. And like people are trying to rationalize it. They're like, no, that it wasn't real. It's just acting. It's just a show. It's okay. But Margot is not having it. She's like, oh no, this is not right.
I'm with Margot.
She like gets up. Yeah. I mean, everyone should not be like sitting back down. But I think that's kind of like the commentary of like these hoity-toity people like are willing to be pacified about this kind of thing, I guess. I don't know. But Margot, she needs a break of some sort from this. So she like excuses herself to the bathroom. Like she doesn't try to leave. She just wants to go to the bathroom. And she like opens up a window and she like has a cigarette and she's like just taking a breather here. And then Slowick comes into the bathroom because she didn't lock the door. Come on, Margot. First problem there. But he says, I need to know, why are you not eating any of my food? Like that's his biggest problem with Margot right now. And she's like, I'm not hungry, chef. And he's like, you're not supposed to be here. And she's like, no, you're right, I'm not. And he says, well, I can tell that, you're one of us, and I need you to decide what side you're on. Are you on their side, or are you on our side? And she's like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll give you a moment to decide, and like walks back out to the kitchen. So she's left there like, what? What? What side am I deciding on? Like, what's going on here? And Tyler, he's just like sitting there like being, oh my gosh, his vision is incredible. It's all so intricate with the palette and like how he's incorporating these visceral experiences. And like, Tyler, you don't get the point, Tyler. Come on. Next, we have, I'm sorry, this is a very long menu.
I mean, the man didn't actually serve bread, so there's like not actual food on this menu.
That's true. Gosh, I feel like I missed one. I don't know where this other one is that I'm thinking of as I'm looking again through this list online, so it might just be I have a bad article here. But there's something somewhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think this list is complete. I am so sorry. But you're getting the gist
Yeah,
of most of it.
I got you.
Of course, the guests are in panic mode, and the older couple, like the guy, he's like, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna get out of here. And he tries to like push past the security guard, and they're like, no, you won't be leaving. And the wife is like, let him leave. I don't need him anymore. And they're like, oh, so would you like a divorce, ma'am? Or, you know, something along those lines. Like, we can make that happen for you. And so they grab his ring finger and they take one of their like meat mallets and cut his finger off.
Solid.
And, yes, and all these people are like, oh my gosh, you just cut off a finger. And he's like screaming in pain and his finger is spurting blood. And everyone's like, you can't just do that to someone. Like, this is crazy. We have to get out of here. We have to call him an ambulance. We have to get him somewhere. And luckily, the next course, they say, all right, you all will come out to the courtyard with us. We'll take a break out there. This poor guy, he like wraps up his finger in a napkin and they all go out into this courtyard. And there's like a most dangerous game kind of thing that goes on where they're like, all right, all of the men, you have a chance to escape. You can try and run and hide. And if we don't find you, then you get to leave. However, all the women will stay here. I don't know why they decided to make it men versus women, whatever. So all the guys go run and hide, and all the sous chefs are like coming after them. One of the guys, he like hides in this little tool shed, and he thinks he's gonna make it. But then one of the sous chefs, he like knocks politely on the window. He's like, "Hello, we brought you this cupcake as a reward for being the last guest found." And I guess that there's little bits of comedy like that. Okay. I shouldn't be laughing though. It's not that funny.
It's a little scary, but it's also
a little scary. So they're all like marched back to the hotel, and it's while all this is happening, the women are like having a little powwow with one of the female chefs, and she's like, you know, part of this was actually my idea. I was at some point, she like has this like happy-go-lucky kind of sound to her, but she like tells them this horrifying story of how Slowick was like trying to make sexual advances on her, and it was really uncomfortable. And she's like, but it's okay now.
Because he murders people.
We worked it out. Yeah. Well, hold on. Hold on. So one of the, I think it was the older woman of the couple, she's like, he's gonna kill us all, isn't he? And she's like, oh, actually, that was my idea. And she's so proud of it, so proud of herself. Yeah, and she's like, you know, we're like family here, and we're all gonna go down together. She's just so happy about it.
She has snapped. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, once everyone is wrangled back up, Margot is invited up to the kitchen to like speak to Slowick. And Tyler is so mad about this. He's like, why did you get to go up there when I'm the one who's interested in this kind of stuff? Like, you don't even care. And like, that's not why she was called up there. She was called to make her choice of, are you with us or are you with them? And she decides she's gonna be with them. And he says, all right, come to my office. So they go like into a little separate office and have a little meeting. And he's like, you're not actually Margot, are you? And she's like, how do you know that? And he's like, because Margot is a sophisticated name, and we both know, are not a sophisticated woman. God. Which he's Rude. Like seen through her. Yeah. Apparently, her real name is Erin, and she's like from Idaho or something like that. And she's actually like an escort who, the reason that the wife or the older wife and husband think that she might look familiar is that she had been like not indentured. I don't know what it's called. Served, I guess. Richard, who is the husband before. And so like he feels all weird about that. And like, of course, the wife doesn't like that fact either. And now she's like been brought here in place of some other woman that Tyler was supposed to be bringing. But the only reason she's actually there is because Tyler needed a guest to come with him. You can't go to Hawthorne by yourself, apparently. That's the rules.
Okay.
Once Margot comes back to the table after Slowick has been like, I know everything about you and tell me all about your life, basically. She asks, actually, she's like, why are you doing this? And he's like, because no one appreciates my art anymore, and I'm not doing it for the love of it anymore. I'm just doing it to cater to these, like, hoity-toity people.
Do
So
something
basically,
else.
he's like, I don't like my job
How about
anymore.
not kill
right?
people and just,
Right?
go fishing for a while or something. Do something else.
Exactly. So that's his reasoning behind all of this. But since she's chosen to be on their side, she somehow... since he's planning to kill everybody, including himself and the staff, it's not like she's going to be saved. It's just like she knows and he knows that she's not one of them.
Okay, it's a power thing. Got it.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes back to the table and Tyler's all mad that she got this special meeting with him. So Slowick actually like comes over to the table and he's like, Tyler, I'm so glad to have finally met you after all these years of you emailing me back and forth. And now I've sent you this special invite to this island. And I told you, and what did I tell you in that invitation email? And Tyler says, you told me that everyone would die.
Oh, so Tyler's known the whole time.
Tyler has known, but I don't think Tyler believed it.
If some guy just like randomly, and like, I understand that like the people, and you have to assume the people in the movie don't know the genre of movie they're in, otherwise like like don't go into the woods by yourself situation. But like if some guy was like, come to my deserted island where I'm gonna kill everyone, wahaha, I might just not go.
Well, Tyler can't say no to an opportunity like this.
Tyler's a dumbass.
Yeah, but like Slowick's big thing when he comes to confront Tyler is like, you were supposed to bring someone else, and you brought this poor girl who doesn't belong here. She's not one of you. She's one of us, and now she has to die. You've brought her to be killed, basically. And Tyler's just like, yeah, I guess so.
Lol.
But he doesn't care. He has no feelings for Margot. He just needed someone to come with him.
Yeah, because them's the rules of Murder Island.
Yeah. So Margot is invited back up again because there's suddenly a task for her. Slowick says, we are about to start preparing dessert. And for that, we need the barrel of, I don't know, whatever it is. Some barrel. But it's not here. I had asked the maitre d' to grab it, but she did not. So we are in need of the barrel. And
the ominous barrel.
The ominous barrel. So he gives Margot a key and a flashlight and lets her out of the restaurant. So she like leaves. She could make an escape at this point,
right?
But she doesn't. She dutifully goes to this shed where the barrel of whatever is kept.
Margot.
And on her way back, she passes by his mansion. And like, I'm gonna go in there.
Yep.
That's a place for me.
Yep. Okay,
so she
Margot.
goes into the mansion, and it's the creepiest thing there. It's an exact replica of the kitchen that they're currently in.
Good.
But there's a secret door that she goes through, and it's like Slowick's room, like his bedroom. And pasted up on the wall is like all of these great like newspaper clippings and like these accolades and prizes and things. And she finds this one. It's like the first one that was put up, and it's this newspaper clipping of when he was like a teenager and working at a local burger place, flipping burgers, and he won some award for like being the best flip master or something like that. And then she also finds a radio, and she like radios out to the Coast Guard like, help, we need help here. Then the maitre d' comes in and she's like, you're trying to take my job away from me. You're trying to boot me out of this family, which is only going to last for like 5 more minutes before they all die.
Ma'am, get your priorities straight.
Yeah. And Margot's like, I'm not trying to do anything.
I'm just trying not to get murdered.
Barrel. And she's also like, and you came into his house. You're not supposed to come into his house.
We don't go here.
Right? And she tries going after Margot with a knife, but Margot is too sly and ends up getting the knife from her and accidentally stabbing her in the throat
As
instead.
that one hand does. Okay.
So now Margot has killed the maitre d'.
I mean, okay. That's fine. It's fine.
She's all like disheveled and covered in blood, and she makes it back to the kitchen with the barrel. And
How
she
big
like
is this
throws
barrel?
it down. It's not very big.
Okay.
It's like more like a keg, maybe, I guess.
Okay, kegs are heavy,
I don't know.
though. What is in it?
I don't know. I think it's like flour or something. I don't know exactly.
So not
what's
a
in the
liquid.
barrel.
Okay, so
yeah,
because I've lifted liquid or kegs filled with beer and stuff, and that's heavy.
I don't think it's filled with liquid.
Okay.
She does throw it down the stairs and it makes a lot of noise, but it didn't seem like it was terribly heavy because she was carrying it before.
Got it. Okay.
So anyway, it clings to a stop and Sloake's like, I see you found our barrel. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And then just as that happens, they see flashing police lights on the Coast Guard boat through the windows, and they're like, we're saved! Hooray! And Sloake is like, all right, everybody, you gotta sit down. Do it right now. And
You gotta
they're
die
all like,
now.
do it. They all sit. And the Coast Guard guy comes in. He's like looking around. He's like, we got a call of a disturbance here. And they're like, oh, I got, yes. And Sloake's like, no, sir. We're just enjoying a fine meal. And he like glances at the crowd like, yeah, we are.
Don't.
And the,
Oh, God.
and the Coast Guard guy's like, okay, I guess my job's done here.
Good job,
And he finishes
Coast Guard man.
scanning the crowd and he sees the actor. And he's like, wait, are you so-and-so person? And the actor's like, yeah, I am. And he like gets all excited that someone's recognized him. And the Coast Guard guy like asks him to like sign a paper or something, and it's great. And he's like, all right, well, I'll just be going now. And as they're leaving, someone says like, wait, no, he's trying to kill us. And then the Coast Guard guy like takes off his jacket, and it turns out he's just one of the sous chefs as well. He's been it this whole time, and he's in on it. It's not actually the Coast Guard.
Great.
So whatever Margot had found like was a one-way loop or something. But now Slowick also knows that she tried to contact someone, so she's not even on his side anymore.
I mean, she wasn't ever, but that's fine.
Well, he thought she was.
Okay, fair.
Or he assumed that he had made her to be on his side, I guess.
Yeah, typical
Villain
toxic
arc.
masculinity.
Yes. So they're getting ready for dessert. And all this time, Margot still hasn't eaten anything. And he says something along those same lines. And she's like, but wait, you know what? I am hungry, chef. And he's like, oh, what can I make you? And she's like, how about you make me a cheeseburger? And he's like, I can do that. So he makes her a cheeseburger and some fries, and like everyone's watching in like disbelief because they know they're about to die. And she's just like watching him cook, like, fine, whatever. Yeah, make that cheeseburger if you want, I guess. And he gives it to her and she takes a bite and she's like, it's good. It's really good. And then she says, but maybe I was more full than I thought. Can I actually get this to go? And he realized the game has been won. And basically she has recognized what he originally set out to do, which was make people happy with food. And so he finds a to-go box somewhere in his kitchen.
Yeah, okay.
Packages up the burger, gives it to her, and lets her go free. Like, she actually gets to leave this time. No tricks, no strings. She gets to go.
Yeah.
We're still back in the restaurant, though, we as the audience, watching the rest of the people. They're like, well, wait, can we go too? And he's like, no, we still have dessert. So dessert is called s'more. And he says, and you, my friends, will get to be part of the s'more. It's such a quaint thing, but we can
like
elevate
that.
it. Yeah. So the sous chefs all come around the people and they put little chocolate hats on their head, like these hats molded out of chocolate, basically. And they sprinkle graham cracker crumbs around them and like give them marshmallows to hold or something like that. And then they start pouring like very flammable things on the ground and like setting up tinder and campfires and like turning on all the gases of the stoves and everything. And then Slowick like lights something and the whole restaurant explodes with all the people in it and they all die. Except Margot. She's made it out and she goes and finds the boat that the fake Coast Guard man came up on. And it's like this old rusty boat and she doesn't know how to drive a boat in the first place, but she manages to get it started and like pedals away from Hawthorne Island. But then the boat like dies, unfortunately. I think runs out of gas. And so she's kind of stranded in the middle of the ocean, like halfway between Hawthorne and the mainland. Like she can see it. It's fine. She just kind of sits on the boat and chills and eats her hamburger while she watches Hawthorne Island burn. And that's the end.
I had in no way any ability to predict how this movie was going to go.
I'm sorry I spoiled it all for you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm actually like kind of glad I got it this way.
Yeah, actually, before I watched it, just because I didn't know if it was going to be, like, scary or, like, super gruesome.
Sure.
I mean, it is a little gruesome, but not, like, the worst. It could be worse, I guess.
Yeah.
But I did look it up online first as well. Like, what is this movie like?
Yeah, that's fair. It sounds... I feel like the tension and the suspense is definitely there.
It's definitely, I would say, more of a thriller than, like, a horror movie.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got horror comedy. Like, come on, Wikipedia. It's not a comedy. Unless I'm missing the humor.
It's probably like one of those like dark comedy, like, in so much that everyone, because a comedies, they all die or they all get married at the end, right? In a Shakespeare play.
Yes.
Okay, so never mind. I don't know where I'm going with this.
You were going somewhere.
Just, probably some sort of commentary on life, right? And just making fun of life, but okay. Not the haha funny.
No.
Funny, not funny haha.
Well, give me a quote.
I got you a quote. All right. Come to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Think on these things while I give you my long spiel. And if you know where this quote is from, feel free to message us on various social. We're on most of them now, at Nerd of the Week or hashtag Nerd of the Week or hashtag NOTWP. We'd be happy to chat with you. And you can tell us all about the menu or where the quote is or what I'm bringing to the table, which I'm sorry in advance, is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
What?
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Is this a video game?
This is a video game.
Or is it a movie?
It's a Sonic the Hedgehog game.
Okay.
It's when Sonic the Hedgehog got his arch rival Shadow the Hedgehog.
Ooh.
It's right at like the fall of Sonic, right when Sega was struggling a lot, and Nintendo was winning the console wars. And they were trying stuff. And this game I played the ever-living crap out of as a kid because I was a Sonic kid. And Sonic's super cool. And so there's Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. And the port to the GameCube is Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is the one that I played because I had a GameCube. And I think it came for the Dreamcast too, but I don't know that we had a Dreamcast, nor did it work if we did have one. But it was in, oh God, what year? Early 2000s. I think it was like 1999, 2000, 2001 timeframe when it came out. And
Okay.
This is a wild story, and like it doesn't make sense. I'm gonna preface with I love Sonic the Hedgehog. I keep coming back hoping that it'll get better. Sometimes it does. Like I just played through Sonic Frontiers. that was a pretty solid game, except for the ending, which was wild. But, totally fine. Sometimes it just goes on a wild journey, and then you went, yep, that did in fact happen.
Okay.
And the point of Sonic is to go fast, and sometimes that happens, and sometimes it doesn't. So this game is branched into the hero storyline and then the dark storyline. And then after you finish both of those storylines, I think it's like the last storyline or the finish storyline, but you have to do those first. And so you play as Sonic, Tails, and I think... Yeah, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in the hero storyline, and then there's Shadow, Rouge the Bat, and then Dr. Eggman in the evil storyline. And
Oh my.
what familiarity do you have with Sonic before I just start spewing out character names?
Not any.
Not any. Great. Okay, so Sonic is the blue hedgehog.
Yes,
Which
I think I knew that.
I'm sure you've at least seen him somewhere. He's a very iconic, very classic character. And then, so he came out originally right when the Sega came out, Sega Genesis, and he was the reason Sega did really well. And he was kind of like an edgy spin on video games where Nintendo was more family friendly. So it was like Sonic versus Mario kind of situation. That was kind of the shtick.
I guess Sonic is edgy is a weird concept to me. He doesn't seem that crazy.
You're right. However, at the time for video games, he was.
Okay.
And then we made Shadow, but we'll get there. His best friend is Miles Tails Per Hour, who is the yellow fox who has two tails who can fly. And he's also like the tech genius. So he's like the artificer functional type guy.
Okay.
And then there's Knuckles, who is an echidna, who, for a lot of the Sonic plot lines, is like Sonic's rival. And Eggman, who is the de facto villain of most of the games, or like the guy that gets everyone in trouble and then ends up coming to the side of good to help with the whatever evil he's unleashed onto the planet. Eggman usually convinces Knuckles that Sonic did something stupid. Knuckles has an arc where he thinks Sonic is capable of some insidious horror and then realizes Sonic wouldn't do that and then is then on their side. And so that's those three. And then Rouge the Bat is kind of Knuckles' counterpart in like level design. And she is like a notorious thief type character. And then there's Dr. Robotnik / Eggman. He's got a couple of names, but he is the like evil scientist who's always trying to do something, usually for world domination or money or something. Pick something evil. That's probably what Eggman's doing.
Why is he called Eggman?
Because he looks like an egg.
Why does he look like an egg?
Because that's his character design, and Sonic called him Eggman one time and it stuck.
Okay.
And it was like a joke name, but I think it's now his real name. And Robotnik might be a different guy. There's a lot of Sonic lore that I don't choose to go into because it becomes the dark, shadowy place that we don't go to.
Okay, that's fine. I won't make you. Not today.
Reason I pick Sonic is that they're on a coastal city, and then Sonic does a lot of running and like coasting along and like sliding around when he's like running through the city and things like that. The word association's there. So first he's running away from like a gunship where they've mistaken him for the hedgehog that's like terrorizing the city. And the group is called Gun, like G.U.N.
Okay.
And that's like the government that occasionally hunts Sonic because they think he's evil, but he's just a anthropomorphized hedgehog who just wants to eat chili dogs and run around, but it's fine. And I think they're something stupid like Guardian Units of Nations is like what the actual acronym is, but it's always just Gun, and it's like in big letters on the cars and stuff that chase you. And there's the initial opening scene. He jumps off of a helicopter and then runs through the first city. It's called City Escape is the name of the song. It's a very classic like butt rock song that like Sonic is surprisingly got amazing like rock music to it. There's a lot of things that you don't expect with these games.
Okay.
So he is running away from the people who think that he is evil, and he gets chased through a couple of things, and then after his first encounter he gets to the end of this rush, and then there's Shadow, who is a genetically modified life form that is something or other. Like he's like the ultimate life form, and he's like the edgelord of the early 2000s, and he is like, we are not the same, I am evil, mwahaha, I am Shadow the Hedgehog, blah blah blah. And people apparently
but he's not real.
He was grown in a lab.
Okay, so he is organic.
He is organic. He was just, and then he was kind of like brainwashed to believe that he's like cooler than he is. And like, he can run really fast. He's got the similar powers of Sonic, where he's like really, really fast, and then can use the Chaos Emeralds and things like that and become Super Saiyan. So he's more Super Shadow, I guess, because Sonic becomes Super Sonic. Neither here nor there.
Okay.
But has some powers, may or may not have parents, has edgy, dark backstory, very classic like D&D backstory where he doesn't know where he came from, and then the one person that he loved died. And so he's basically just mad and wants to figure out what happened, and then Eggman's manipulating him into helping him open up the space colony Ark. So there's a space colony. So we should talk about that real fast. This is going to be all over the place.
Oh no.
So the dark side of the story is that, oh God, I think it's, maybe this is where Robotnik comes in. Yeah, okay. So this is how Robotnik comes in. So Dr. Eggman's deceased grandfather, Professor Gerald Robotnik, we got there, was up in a space colony that was basically like a moon or such, that is called the Ark. And it was originally trying to, like the cover story was just trying to get people to live in space and see how we do up there. So it was kind of not quite NASA, but NASA-like, where it was just on the outskirts where it would be safe to figure out space travel and things like that. So that's like the level of technology that we've gotten to. And they also wanted to do more with the Chaos Emeralds, which are the MacGuffins of the story. Like, you need to collect the Chaos Emeralds to become super powerful, and then like it gives you like a bunch of powers and things like that. Chaos. And they also, if used for good, they could functionally, like, they have enough power to power a city on like clean energy and things like that, but they can certainly be used for evil as well, like world domination. And then there's also the Master Emerald, which is the big, large emerald that is in a diamond cut for some reason. And that's what Knuckles protects. And Knuckles is
he doesn't sound like much of a protector.
He always loses it.
Oh, no.
Or it breaks into a bajillion pieces or whatever.
Oh, no.
So Eggman's trying to steal the Master Emeralds so that, because the Master Emerald can neutralize the Chaos Emeralds and control them in a different way. And like, if you have like the one ring to rule them all, if you have that one, then you can control the rest of them functionally. And so Eggman tries to steal it, and I think Knuckles breaks the emerald into a bunch of little shards, and then they just like Dragon Ball Z style scatter across the planet, so that, you know, because when you break things into a bunch of little shards, it doesn't just land on the ground, it just goes shooting everywhere, so that Eggman can't use it to power up the Ark. Now, what the Ark was really for was Robotnik was planning on turning it into a giant space cannon to shoot at the planet and like hold it hostage so that he could get his like millions of dollars type of thing, or just, you know, explode the planet. And then all the people he cared about would be up on the Ark. So if the planet exploded, then, well, I have my space colony. Shadow was created for reasons that I don't remember. And
Okay, that's fair.
and Robotnik's granddaughter, Maria, wants Shadow to have a better life because Shadow is basically used as like a soldier type character to like help enforce Robotnik's like evil plans. And so like he's the muscle, I guess. And so then Maria figures out that her grandfather's evil and doesn't want the Ark to blow up the planet and like, you know, has a moral conscience. And so she basically sabotages the Ark and I think cuts the oxygen from it. So she kills everyone on the Ark, but she didn't want Shadow to be subject to it. So she sends him back to Earth in like a little like pod. And there's a lot of Shadow having lost a lot of memory and getting like flashbacks of Maria and like trying to piece together what happened on the Ark. So you get like bits and pieces of it through Shadow's story and a little bit of Eggman's story when you play through those rounds. And then Knuckles, after exploding the emerald, is going around trying to find all the pieces of the emerald in various locations. And he discovers Rouge the Bat, who may or may not be a double agent, but she's definitely possibly spying for the government. And she also is collecting the Master Emerald pieces because she wants to get the Master Emerald back together because she's kind of got like a Catwoman type vibe to her where she wants to collect like the pretty shiny things for money. And she's the one who figures out that the Ark is actually a cannon or like the space laser that could explode the planet. And that's what the Chaos Emeralds were going to use to power it. So she sits on Team Dark pretending to be a bad guy to try and like sabotage this plan.
But she's actually good.
She's neutral. She like serves herself. But if the planet explodes, there's no Ark to steal. So, you know, one can respect it. Meanwhile, while that's going down, Tails and Amy go on to because Sonic gets captured, and so Tails and Amy go onto the gun base to rescue Sonic, and Eggman makes a threat. I think he has some, if not all, of the Chaos Emeralds, but basically he makes a threat like Dr. Evil style, like if my demands aren't met and I don't get $1 million, mwahaha. Right, it's kind of that plot a little bit. Then he won't explode. He's going to destroy the moon. I think the plan is to shoot the moon and not the Earth, because Eggman understands that if he kills the planet, then he won't get his money. So he's going to blow up the moon. And Sonic gets freed by Tails and Amy as they go through the gun base, and they infiltrate Eggman's base place thing, and basically they board his shuttle and they go to space with Eggman. Knuckles, meanwhile, his Master Emerald, he keeps like getting pieces and losing pieces of the emerald, and like basically his whole plot is like going around and finding pieces of the emerald and then like almost getting it put back together and then like more pieces.
He kind of reminds me of that squirrel in Ice Age with the nut.
A little bit. And Knuckles always gives like himbo energy, where he's not like the smartest of the bunch, but his heart's in the right place. And Knuckles is like, whole story is like he's the last echidna of the race of echidnas, like ancient echidnas, who were sent on or left on this planet to protect the Master Emerald from beings like Chaos. And there's some form of thing which appeared more in Sonic Adventure, which was there's these things called Chow, and they're really little
Are they dogs?
No, they're these little really adorable little guys, but they with their exposure to, I'm going to send you a picture of them because they're really cute.
Okay.
Because half the reason I played the crap out of this game was because of the Chow.
Aww.
So they're really adorable.
Well, they are sweet.
So
Aww.
with their exposure to the Master Emerald, they mutated into these beings instead of what was originally called the ancients, or like the older beings that like had, because there's always like in the Sonic games there's like this hint that there's like this ancient technology that no one understands where it came from, and then it actually, the answer was aliens. And so Chaos is a mutated back from, because he's gotten away from the Master Emerald, and then he he's just really old and confused, and like basically like unleashing a big dragon on the planet who doesn't know what's going on, so he tries to attack things. But the Chows are these cute little guys that you can take care of in the game, which was the thing I did the most of, not really barring the plot. I would just go to like Pumpkin Hill and collect, and you could collect these little animals that you could then like give to your Chows, and then they turn and look more like those animals, and then you could race the Chows. Aww. And like open up different worlds for them to go and explore, and it was super, super fun.
Cute.
Yeah, it was really cute. I wish.
So like they're kind of more characters that you can have in the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're like a collection, like they're kind of like a sim type thing where you like take care of them and then raise them, and then they can go do things to get more stuff to upgrade them. And my one plea to whoever makes video games is just make Chow Garden again, and just make Chow Garden better, because that's where the money is. I just want to play with the Chows again. And I don't have a GameCube anymore.
I wonder why they didn't continue on with like a spin-off franchise of that.
I think part of it was because so Sonic Adventure 2 was probably the last okay Sonic game, and then Sega kind of exploded because they lost the console wars with Nintendo, and then there was a lot of bureaucracy that happened. There's a wild book called Console Wars, highly recommend. Even if you have no interest in video games, it's like I characterized what happened between Sega and Nintendo, and just wild turn of events that happened in the last like couple of years with Sega, before it just kind of spiraled out of control and they were grasping at straws, and they didn't really know what was going to make them money, so they just kept producing everything. And
does Sega actually exist now or not?
So there's a Sega team. So there's a Sega Sonic team that exists. It's nowhere near what it was, and I don't think a lot of it is the same group of people or even like the same branch anymore. And I believe Sega now sits with, or like was rescued by Nintendo for a little while, and now they sit with PlayStation.
Okay.
So Sega got like bought up and like moved around, and a lot of their IPs got like broken apart and given to other people. And PlayStation was part of the reason of their downfall too, because PlayStation was supposed to help them, and like the Sony side wasn't really originally going to make a PlayStation. They were just supposed to help Sega make more consoles, and then it turned into a whole thing where one guy on Sony realized if we just made our own console, we could have control of all of the IP instead of having to do what Sega wants. So they basically like led Sega along and then dropped them right at the end. And then Sony was like, lol, here's E3, we're going to make a PlayStation. And then that's basically what signed the death warrant for like the Sega team and all of that. So much bureaucracy and chaos.
All right. Who would have thought with video games?
Right. It's wild. It's so fascinating to learn about. And then, anyway, back to the end of the story.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. But I know more about that than I know about the story, because mostly I just wanted to talk about Chow Garden.
Okay.
But so through shenanigans, Tails figured out how to make counterfeit Chaos Emeralds so that he could stick them into the Eclipse Cannon, and then it would explode as opposed to firing correctly, because it would have like enough power to trick Eggman into thinking it was the real thing. And so he puts it in there, and then Sonic is able to trick Eggman with all of the fake things, but Eggman's able to see through the plan and like gets out. So all of Sonic stayed behind to rig the place to the arc in space to explode, and everyone else left because Sonic was fast enough that he could make it to a pod and disappear. So he's like, go, I'll do it. But Eggman figured out the ploy, and so the arc explodes and everyone thinks Sonic is dead. But
Oh no.
Sonic is able to use the power of the fake emeralds that Tails made to make infinite or initiate a chaos control, which is basically like a time stop at a power that Shadow came up with. So Sonic uses the Chaos Emeralds to turn into Supersonic, which is just like he's yellow now and he can fly and is immune to damage for a little while. And Shadow uses the Chaos Emeralds to like stop time and like can move himself or like stop the world around him and then move forward in time and then like do stuff in that like intermediary space. So Sonic and Shadow have a fight where they're like running back and forth on some rails in space because all of the settings of the games never really make that much sense. While
Do they really need to make sense if
No.
you're just running around collecting crystals?
No, they don't need to make any sense. But I will forever have the "I'll use your chaos control" stuck in my head because when I was playing on the Shadow, like, so if you play the dark side, Shadow's going to win. And if you play on the light side, Sonic will win that because they have that fight between each other. And Shadow doesn't really talk a lot when he's chasing Sonic, but when Sonic's chasing Shadow, he just says, "I'll use your chaos control" all the time, and it lives in my head rent-free. And I was not very good at playing this game, so I had to play that level many times. And then, regardless of who wins, Eggman sneaks away or tries to like set up the cannon that he has connected to the moon, and then program it to collide with the Ark, so that something will happen and that he will still get some money. But he is superseded by like Tails and Amy and Knuckles and them, and they like stop his plot. And then Amy pleads that Shadow help him as well. And then Amy is a pink hedgehog who's kind of Sonic's girlfriend. Not really sure. They've never really confirmed or denied. She's just kind of a fangirl of Sonic. But in that moment, Amy's plea reminds him of Maria, and then he remembers like all of his backstory and how he was actually supposed to be a force for good and help because he promised Maria that he would help save people. So then he becomes Super Shadow. And then out of nowhere, they encounter the Bio Lizard, which is this giant space lizard, and Shadow and Sonic have to fight it in their super forms, and together use like a chaos control to teleport it out into like deep space so it'll explode. And that's Sonic the Hedgehog Adventure 2.
Wow. Wow, what a great story.
Yeah, what a departure from the menu.
Yeah.
Fighting space lizards.
Oh my goodness. I think I have watched like one Sonic game somewhat playthrough, and it looked like fun.
They are fun. They're silly. They're not meant to be taken like super seriously anymore. They definitely try. The writers never really know where to go with it because there's just so much to go with it. But they're fun, and they have cool music, they have cool scenes and like level design. And when you get like a combo going and you can run really fast and like get through a whole arc within like the time set, it's fun. I like it. The Sonic movies are actually not terrible. I thought they were going to be horrible. Hot take. They're not terrible. I thought they were going to be horrible, but I love them. They're campy. They're exactly what you want from a Sonic movie. Jim Carrey plays an excellent Eggman. Idris Elba voices Knuckles. It's great.
Oh my goodness. Wait, who voices Sonic?
Ben Schwartz.
Oh, okay.
It's fun.
Cool. Well, thank you for that lovely retelling.
Convoluted, totally followable story plot about bio lizards in space.
I mean, why not? Why not? We're not going for great literature. We're just going for fun literature.
Sometimes we have book
Not
reports.
even literature.
Sometimes we have book reports. Sometimes we have stories about a little blue hedgehog who fights lizards in space.
Yeah, he's just a little blue hedgehog.
He's just a little guy.
Oh my goodness, that's good. I think he's a cute character.
Yeah,
And
and
I like his look.
he's got like a classic design and like recognizable. He's like Pikachu level recognizable. Like even if you don't know anything about it, you look at him and you go, "Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog."
Yeah.
And that is what I think is really cool about him.
Sega has definitely done a good job of getting him out there in spite of their failures.
And sometimes they send out bangers like Sonic Frontier and Sonic Colors, and then sometimes they give you Sonic and the Black Knight or Sonic the Werehog, where he turns into a werewolf for reasons I still don't understand.
Oh no. Oh no. I hope you bring that for something at some point.
I may. Oh,
Okay,
That's
cool.
another whole convoluted plot.
I would love to hear it.
All right. Would you like my quote again?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you want to give it?
Yeah. Come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. Classic Christmas movie.
I don't know.
Give you more hints. It's got Bruce Willis in it.
Oh, is it Die Hard?
It's Die Hard.
I've never seen
Oh,
it.
okay. I think it's the first one. He follows an event and then like is just like muttering under his breath about how he got invited out here.
I see.
He's not pleased with the scenario he was in.
It'd be fun, they said.
This will be fun, they said. Come out here. Come out, hang out on the coast. We'll have a good time. I'm getting attacked. It's fine.
Nice. Maybe I'll have to see it at some point.
It's a good one.
Shall we end this podcast
We should.
and ask the generator what we should talk about next time?
Generator, what should we talk about next time?
The next word is stopwatch.
Stopwatch. That sounds like a sports anime to me.
I was just going to say, it sounds like Sonic,
You're right.
but also a sports anime.
Well, I guess we'll find out next time.
Oh my. We'll come up with something, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I hope you hang out and listen. And I hope our very different genres of entertainment today gave you a laugh.
Probably best that you went second to kind of get people back into a
In
good
a lighter
mood.
mood. And yeah, if we gave you a laugh or if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend, because that's how we grow as a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So as always, I've been Stephanie.
And I've been Allison.
And remember, this is still not a pyramid scheme.
No. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.